Oh, first I want to say thank you for having me on and congratulations on your show.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, and it's an honor to have you. And I know we have a lot to talk about today. We both have fathers that served honorably in the United States military, and both have passed away. So while we have you, why don't you, Richard? Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your father?
Well, my dad was, it's typical World War II, the greatest generation. And yes, we are of Mexican descent, but we are Americans. And the colors that we were taught to recognize were only three colors: red, white, and blue. My father was a very big patriot. He served in the Marine Corps during World War II. He fought in four of the islands. It's amazing that he even survived one: Iwo Jima, Saipan, Tinian, and Roy L'Amour. And he was pretty well decorated, pretty well wounded, shot up, 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, and 1 Silver Star. And when he came back to the world, as we say it, he was a drill instructor at Marine Corps Recruiting Depot in San Diego. He did that for about a year, and then he was honorably discharged and came home to my brother and myself. And as we grew up, there was 5 of us altogether, 5 boys. And as we grew up, my father was a drill instructor at home. So it wasn't, there was never any gray area. There was never no I think. No, it was either yes or no. He never used the word I think or maybe. Those words didn't exist in my father's vocabulary.
Yeah, you had to be very respectful.
Yeah, and the one thing that actually took part as we grew up, my father loved boxing. That was one of his favorite sports. He liked football. But boxing was this thing. He fought for the 4th Division when he was on the ship. He never considered himself a pro or anything. He just liked to duke it out, and it's obvious that helped him get through 4 islands.
Yeah, yeah.
And he brought back a couple souvenirs that are hanging in my office. One of them is of course, the Japanese flag with all the autographs of those who lost their lives there.
Wow.
But moving on, instead of talking about death and destruction, we'll talk about what I've learned from all of this. I really didn't have any choice about what branch I was going to go in. The idea of going in the Army, and my father was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps, didn't sit too well. I never said anything. He said, well, you don't have to carry a gun. Well, in the Marine Corps, everybody carries a gun.
Sure.
Everybody is infantry. It's not like the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. You've got a secondary MOS. All Marines, your primary MOS is your infantry, period.
Yeah.
Then the next thing is your job. What are you going to be? I was lucky enough to be an F4 mechanic. I worked on F4 Phantoms. That was my job, my MOS.
Yeah.
And not only was that a terrific job, it allowed me to work on one of the greatest fighters on planet Earth, and the only fighter bomber in the world that was used by all over, I think, 18 nations, and has got more kills in the air than any other fighter to roam the skies. The F-4 Phantom was, during its time, a lot of pilots didn't like the way it turned. The MiGs could outturn them, but when it came to power, they could go straight up, and they could pretty much do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be a plane captain. I got to fly backseat twice in an F-4, which is, for those of you who know what an E-ticket ride is, that was an E-ticket ride.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could ever think that come close to sitting, that fast would be sitting in the backseat of a funny car or a top-fuel dragster. That would probably be my interpretation of an E-ticket ride.
Yeah.
But a lot of things transpired over your lifetime. Many of us say, well, how did we get from here to there? Actually, when I got out, I ended up going into the exotic muscle car business. That's what I did. I did that for 14 years. I loved muscle cars. To this day, it's still one of my big passions. And muscle cars today probably sell for more than any of the exotic cars that are out there today. But because of that, it allowed me to travel quite a bit. Spent a lot of time in Europe and Sweden, different countries, and I actually restored cars in a castle, if you can believe that.
Sure.
The King of Sweden was one of my clients, and I got to live in the castle, restored his AC Cobra, and went to dinner and dining with the King and the Queen. And that's quite a story for a Cinderella guy, you know. It's quite a story. I was lucky enough also to be a crew chief for in Daytona on NASCAR.
Wow,
I got to do that. I raced my own car.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I got to do a lot of that, but you know, something happened when I moved up to Tulare County. I lived in Visalia for a while, and I'd missed the military, the organization, the structure, and I won't deny it. I missed the Marine Corps. It sounds silly, but after all the things that happened in Vietnam, you just got a really bad taste about the way that whole war was handled. And before I forget, I'm a very conservative, I'm a pro-life person. And you know, back then when we were coming home, they were calling us baby killers. Now just imagine that. Back in the 16th century, those people were calling us baby killers. Now, all the people that were calling us baby killers are now in that office and position and are doing all the baby killing, which I found sickening.
Yes, it is.
And anyway, after moving up there for a while and living in Visalia, I decided to go back in the military. I was still in pretty good shape. I was 41 years old. Still could do my miles and everything. And well, I went back to the Marine Corps recruiting depot, and he said, "Now you're too old."
That's it, huh?
we had a pretty good laugh together. And
yeah, you got the axe. Yeah, well,
yeah.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't know what Memorial Day is all about and Memorial Weekend is all about, and there's controversy on all this stuff. And right after the next break, we'll get into a little bit about Memorial Day.
I'll tell you what it means to me.
Some history. Some history.
Yeah.
A few.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, so you just stay on the line. We got about a few more seconds before we go to the commercials. But it is really great that you've done so much for our country, and we thank you for your service.
And I also served in the Army.
Wow, that's pretty cool. You know, and I know you're a patriot. I know you're really into helping our conservative America.
Well, you know, the veterans are getting. I'll say one thing: we got better care now than we did back then.
Okay, we're going to go into break. You're listening to the John Estrada Show on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. Call in 559-442.
You did good.
Okay, we got one more minute before we go back live on radio, but we are still broadcasting on Facebook, Richard. So we really are trying to make this radio program and this broadcast get it out to as many people as we possibly can. So if you could possibly share it with your family and friends, we would really appreciate that. And definitely we'll always take comments and emails. So we thank you. Thank you definitely for all your support. And we'll get to this stuff with the beginnings of Memorial Day, which I think a lot of people don't know.
Now, back to the John Estrada Show.
Thank you. My name is John Estrada, and we're broadcasting from Conservative America. I have as a guest Richard Cabral. He is a strong patriot and very knowledgeable in gun stuff, and was a former NRA representative. But let's go to the history of Memorial Day. First, a lot of people don't know that Abraham Lincoln was the one that sort of got it moving in the direction of honoring the war dead. And it started during the Gettysburg in 1863, and they're saying that's where the holiday began. What do you think, Richard?
I agree. He was a great. Well, first of all, he was a great president.
Yeah, and then as far as the actual birthplace of Memorial Day, they say Lyndon Johnson made it official in 1966 that Waterloo, New York, May 5th of 1866 is the birthplace of Memorial Day. A lot of people.
That part I did not know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. And then the American Legion, which is a national service organization, is trying to get Memorial Day to be honored on May 30th, so they can be more, people would be more serious and spend more time supporting those that gave the ultimate price and died for America.
Which, by the way, for those of you who see veterans in front of either the post office or market on the red poppy, that's what the red poppy actually stands for.
Yeah.
It was actually the killing fields.
Sure.
So they took the poppy and made it a symbol of gratitude, and that's how a lot of these organizations raise money.
Yeah, a lot of people right now just think that Memorial Day is for shopping or barbecues and stuff like that, and it almost half the country believes that. So,
well, well, we know what half we're talking about, right, John?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That was the good one.
The idea of not having a driverless car and a car you plug in just does not sit well with me. I was born in the day of the internal combustion engine, and like I told my wife, we will never own anything we plug into the wall that drives.
Oh yeah,
it ain't never going to happen.
Definitely.
But anyway, back to the, John, we were talking about this earlier. The things that bring us to a point of having to want to do something besides honor and celebrate.
Yeah.
I actually ended up serving about 10 years in the National Guard and the Army up there in Tulare County. And one of the cool things that happened to me is I got selected to go to sniper school. So I went to Camp Robinson Sniper School and met a lot of guys from all over the place. Mm-hmm. Now, remind you, I'm in my 40s, and most of those guys are in their 19s, 20s.
Sure.
They're half my age. But I competed against these guys, and I did pretty good against these young studs.
Yeah.
But one of the things that crossed me, and I'm not going to mention his name, but we went out and had a few beers after we were done training, and he was, like I said, half my age. I think he was 19 or 20. He's from Arkansas, actually from the same state that we were at. We were at Camp Robinson. And I just heard, 3 years ago when I started this other project, that he was killed in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And I wear a bracelet. I've worn a Vietnam bracelet actually since I got out in '72, and it's got his name, Michael Thurkettle. He was actually my ASB president when I was in high school. I graduated in 1964. But what drove me to this, do what we've been talking about, is I said there's something that I need to do. So 2 years ago, we started an organization, and it was about honoring veterans. I wanted to do something, and I was just technically hired to drive the thing. Well, the people got a little nervous about. I told them how we were going to raise money, and had a lot to do with having sweepstakes for guns and tactical equipment, and they got nervous. I don't understand how people think when you're trying to honor veterans and raise money. Now, there's a lot of groups out there that raise money, lots of them. Gary Sinise, the Chris Kyle Foundation, which I contribute to. There's a lot of them, but they all have their own way. My thinking is to allow a civilian or even a veteran an opportunity to win and donate at the same time, something that would drive him to donate. I mean, really drive him. Imagine having the opportunity to sit in the back seat of a World War II P-40 Warhawk and fly back seat with the pilot in a real plane. I'm not talking about models.
Sure.
I am talking about a real plane, or a P-51 Mustang, or a B-24 Liberator, or a B-17, being able to actually experience that. And these companies have lined up. And what we're doing is we're actually going to do, and the website is almost there. They can go there and see the prizes. 2 of them right now. One of them is flying in the backseat of a P-40. By the way, our website is honoringamericanveterans.org. Now, we just started on the website. We don't have any pros putting it together because of cost. We've managed to get it up there, and it'll link you to prizes. But sometime next month, we'll have this thing running so that a person can actually also win a prize if you donate money to this thing.
Now, Richard, where will the money go?
Oh, well, when you look at organizations, and this is one thing I tell anybody that donates, when you donate to organizations, always look at their financials and see where the majority of their money goes. You'd be surprised how much money, almost 80, 90% goes to administration and 10% goes to vets. Our organization is structured at 70-30. 70% goes to the veteran, 30% for administration. And if it gets to a point where it's getting too big, then we're not going to let it get any bigger.
Yeah,
we are not going to give up any more money.
Yeah, that would that would seem to me that the more you raise, the lower the admin costs would be.
You think that, but it doesn't work that way. Most of the organizations that are out there, when you look at their financials, the more money they raise, the less money they give.
Yeah, that doesn't make.
I thought, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all.
No, they try to justify it in expenditures, but I don't want to go there. That's not what I'm going to do. That's why our system about prizes, they're sweepstakes prizes. They're not raffles, they're sweepstakes. The difference between a raffle and a sweepstakes is that if a person really wants to enter their sweepstakes without a donation, he can do that.
Yeah,
he or she can't do that.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
We're anticipating that the majority of people will donate because of the cause, and each one of these prizes will raise $100,000. You figure 10,000 tickets, and this is a first class ticket. One of the other cool prizes is to ride or drive a World War II tank, a Sherman, a Patton, a Panzer, and fire live rounds on a combat course. 2 days. It's a 2-day trip.
Now you're going to be helping homeless veterans, and you're going to be helping.
The majority of the money, and I say majority because 70% of the money will be. My big thing is suicide.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably my biggest thing, and homeless. Those are the 2 things that we are going to focus on.
Yeah.
By the way, we're also going to be helping law enforcement. Not all the money is going to go to military. We will work with law enforcement agencies. This is important to me.
Yeah. A lot of
important.
Richard, a lot of people don't know that statistically 1 in 4 homeless person is a veteran, and 50.
Yeah, and what brings back some of the sad stories is that you see guys standing on a corner or on the end of the freeway, veteran need help, you don't know necessarily if he's a vet or not.
Exactly.
You really don't.
Yeah. Well, if a veteran needs help, they will give him help. Unfortunately, a lot of veterans don't want to go get help from the government.
No, they don't. But see, this is the process. It's like suicide. Why does that happen? Well, what happens is when they go get help. There was a show on two weeks ago. It was on called Field Team, and they had one episode on there about suicide, and that is exactly what is wrong. Exactly. When a guy calls and makes the commitment to get help, you're not going to wait 30 days.
No,
you got to do something about it right there, right now.
Yeah.
We want to be able to go pick him up, send a Uber or a Lyft, go pick this guy up and take him to the doctor. We'll pay for it.
Yeah.
That's going to be the difference. So we get the middleman right there. We got the guy right there. We get him help right there.
Yeah.
This commitment that they make is very short-lived. Yeah. Very short-lived.
Well, I've seen veterans. I've seen veterans that go to emergency room for help, and there's no room for them. So
not only that, if they do get help, they give them a bottle of pills.
Yeah, exactly.
To do what?
They'll give them a whole bunch of pills and say, "Go home."
Yeah,
that's it. And so
the worst part about it is they'll continue drinking, and that makes the situation even worse.
Yeah, self-medication.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, John, I'm telling you, that's at the top of our list.
Yeah, going back statistically to the 1 in 4 homeless. Well, guess what? 50% of those veterans that are homeless are from the Vietnam era.
Yeah, the number is big, and it is in that whole thing that I mentioned earlier about calling us baby killers, when that wasn't even true.
Yeah.
It's so far from what really happened.
Sure.
Most of the guys, like today, they're 18, 19, 20-year-old, and it was the coming back that hurt. The coming back.
Yeah.
Today, they come back, everybody is honored. They get stuff in the mail from high schools. When I was in Iraq in 2006, I went as a contractor, and I worked with a lot of these guys, and you walked into some of the places they lived, they had letters from kids they didn't even know. Schools from America. I got to tell you, man, it made me cry.
Yeah. Well, you're very fortunate to have come home. My job was so. I mean, I was not running around the bush like these guys. Yeah.
I was a mechanic.
Sure.
And then I worked most of my time with the Navy.
Yeah.
So I was in a safe place, and I got to tell you, there was a lot of guilt that I dealt with because I didn't run around the bush with these guys.
Certainly. Yeah, but, a lot of people don't know that there was approximately 58,000 troops that were killed during Vietnam, and then
I go to the wall.
And then on top of that, since then, more than 100,000 of them have committed suicide.
Yeah, that number is pretty high. It's a lot higher than today's troops.
Yeah,
they've got a lot more support now than we had.
Wow.
If you ever saw the movie The Born on the 4th of July, the VA was bad.
Yeah,
it was bad.
I remember. I went in right after the Vietnam War, and it was still bad. The VA was really bad. They're getting better, but they got a long way to go.
Oh yeah, but I got to tell you, since Trump has taken it over, there's other programs that have come to pass, and one of them is called Mission. I had the paperwork ready for me. You can actually set this up with the VA. If you're a vet, call the VA. Tell them you want to know about that new mission law.
Yeah,
they just passed it.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of new programs that have come in since Trump, but unfortunately, we're still having 22 veterans commit suicide every day.
Which just brings us right back to what we talked about earlier. When either one of them, the homeless or the suicide, especially suicide, makes the commitment to make that call, the last thing you want him to do is sit in a VA office, get bottled pills, and come back in 30 days. No, the object is to pick him up at that time and take him to professional help.
Okay, Richard. We got to go to a break right now, and we'll get
a hard break. I'll be waiting for you on the other side.
Exactly. You're listening to the John Estrada Show on Talk Radio 1680 KGD. Thank you.
Are we off the air?
We are off part of the air.
Okay. Hey, when you get up to 30 seconds, Just say, listen, in 30 seconds, can you tell us a little bit about this? Because we're going to be coming up on a hard break. It'll sound better instead of that last second thing. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your show, but I did it for 4 years. Right. Well, you got. I'm really happy for you, John. Yeah, I'd love to make a special trip. Absolutely. Yeah, I will. I'll make sure that happens. I'll make sure that happens. Well, technology. Well, it sounds like you got a pretty good crew. Do you have to get your own sponsors? Who are you getting for sponsors right now? Yeah, hit the gun shops, okay? Yeah, even if it is California. Well, I'm not going to be going on any vacations. That was a long time planning. You know, I hadn't taken my wife on a honeymoon in 14 years, so. Yeah, it worked out really nice. She had a great time. She loved the island. And we're planning a trip back. Don't know when yet, but we will go back to the same island and hit some of the things we didn't. I don't want to go to the other islands. They're too commercialized. This one is still culturally driven, if you know what I mean.
We're going on there here shortly.
Okay.
Well, if you're listening to our broadcast on Facebook, send in your comments.
Now, back to the John Estrada Show.
Yeah, welcome back. My name's John Estrada, and I've got a guest, Richard Cabral. Richard Cabral is very informed on the issues of guns and politics and Americanism. And so, Richard, what do you think?
Well, I always like the word Americana. It's one of my favorite words. It's very Americana. It's historical, the things that we love and the things that we like to do. But I won't deny that veterans are probably, as I get older, you become a little bit more tied to that, just because you see the other side go in the opposite direction. This whole thing about socialism, communism, and this crap they teach in school. They don't teach anything in school anymore other than how to have sex and have kids. But they teach you nothing about history. They teach you nothing about the Constitution, the flag. Now you can't even wear an American, you can't wear a T-shirt with an American flag in most of these schools.
You know,
why?
It's pretty amazing. It's go ahead. Why?
Oh well, I because of the stupidity. Well, look, we both know that the CTA, which is the California Teachers Association, is all left-wing hacks, all of them.
Yeah.
And they're all Democrats, and they all have liberal mindsets. So this is the crap that they're pushing through our kids.
Yeah.
Or the kids, not my kids.
Well,
already.
you know, I think there's some schools that really are patriotic, but I would definitely say in the cities, within the city structure, I think the suburbs, they're a little bit more patriotic. Like, for instance,
no. If you get away, all you got to. This is a simple way to tell. The more stoplights and signals there is in an area, the more liberal the town is.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay, and the other thing too, as I've always found strange, is that the closer they are to the ocean, on any part of the United States, the more liberal they are.
Pretty amazing.
All you got to do is look at the East Coast and the West Coast.
Well, they're being
something
a lot of them are being forced out of the coastal areas. It's getting to be too expensive. A lot of
Oh,
homelessness.
California, we got another tax coming, right?
Yeah, there'll be another tax coming for the gas. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was we talked about, we were in Hawaii last week in Kona, and the gas is cheaper there in Hawaii than it is in California
Sure.
by 50 cents.
Yeah. Well, I talked to a person that delivers gasoline to the stations, and he definitely told me that the price of gas has not gone up for them. The gas stations are the ones that are putting the prices up.
Oh yeah, and these guys are forming. They're all in cahoots with one another.
Yeah.
There is no more competition between gas stations because it's like milk. It's become a necessity.
Yeah.
It's something you can't do without.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There seems to be this idea that the taxpayer can be gouged, and everybody gouges the taxpayer. And unfortunately, the Democrats are very good at that. They want to find out ways to tax. And, I take that back. They're calling them fees now. They're not taxes; they're fees.
Yeah.
They come up with this.
Great.
They come up with this terminology. They change the words, but it's exactly the same thing.
Well, it's just like buying a gun. When you buy a gun, you need a. It's not. We're not talking about CCWs, okay? We are talking about you take a test, which you pay for, 10 questions, stupid questions, and when you pay you $35, you get a card that's good for 2 or 3 years, and if you don't renew it, then you'll pay it again. And now they also have the ammo tax, or fee. There's fees on just about everything that we do in life.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, there's no doubt that that's what the Democrats want to do, is they want to either have a tax or fee on every product, every service.
Well, like I said, my big deal here is, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, is if I can save one of these guys, I'm happy. But
Sure.
that's not my goal. My goal is to save as many as possible.
Oh yeah.
And the thing that I want to try and stress that separates us from all the other organizations and the VA is that we have a niche that doesn't exist yet, which I'm planning on fulfilling. When that guy makes that phone call, okay, I'm ready to get some help, we're not going to turn him over to the VA. We're going to pick him up and take him over to a VA-approved psychiatrist, because that's what they start with, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's really.
That means committing him someplace, to a place, a safe place, not a bar, not 30 days in a bottle of pills, but committing them. We're going to cover the expenses for that.
Yeah, and really, a lot of them really do need their benefits and services. Many of them are injured, and they don't know how to, or they just don't
John,
like to.
You mentioned it, part 2 of our application. If the guy says, "Yeah, okay, I'll do this," and we pick him up and we take him over there, while he's there with a psychiatrist, we're going to be filling out the paperwork for his benefits. Most people don't know this, but if you're 100% disabled and PTSD, if it's severe enough, you can get up to 100%, and you can get up to $2,400 a month.
Yeah,
and that puts you in a decent apartment.
Yeah, that's. I think it's on 100%. It's like over 3,000.
Yeah, and even if you get on 50%, that's still, about $1,000.
Yeah.
And these guys have never been told this. And this is all the information that we're going to help them with. To be able to help them do this. You give me your name, rank, and serial number and social security number, and we'll do the filing for you.
Yeah, that's what they need. They need support, and they need help, and they need somebody to help them hand deliver it, or drive them, or get them to the place that they need to go. And a lot of them.
It's not happening yet, John. It's not happening yet, but it will. And again, for those of you, maybe you might put it on your Facebook, honoringamericanveterans.org.
Yeah, that's really good. honoringamericanveterans.org.
And we are a 501c3. Paperwork is extensive to become a 501c3, about a year, but we are set up to help veterans. And that's our big push.
Yeah.
And again, I want to mention that law enforcement is also involved in all this, because these guys, when you think about what law enforcement has to go through, the difference, I've talked to a lot of these guys, the difference between the military defending themselves and law enforcement, the cops, the military always says, less paperwork.
Yeah.
The paperwork that these guys got to do in a shooting situation, if they get into a shooting situation, not killing anybody or hitting anybody, just if that gun fires, is incredible.
Well, a lot of them, I would consider those that have given their life for America, police officers that have been killed in the line of duty. I think there's no question about it. They should be represented too on Memorial Day.
Well, they're going to be represented with us. They are part of our. When they read our mission statement, they are mentioned in our mission statement.
That's cool. That's
not
great.
Just military; it's military and law enforcement.
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter. I worked with Joe Arpaio for a long time. He made me an honorary deputy sheriff.
Wow.
And I worked down there with the SWAT teams and some of the other guys. Great bunch of guys, and he was a great sheriff.
Yeah. Well, we've both been very supportive of veterans, and we've been very supportive of the military. And my father, the reason I got into the military was because of my father. My father, I came to my father one day and said, "Dad, I need some experience. What do I do?" He said, "Join the Navy. You'll get experience, all the experience you need." And sure enough, I got experience.
Yeah, there's plenty of it there. We, as you know, Marines work a lot with the Navy.
Yeah.
Because we are a department of the Navy. And there was a lot to learn there, especially being on a carrier.
Yeah.
That was, for me, one of the scariest places on earth, man, watching these planes take off and land.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, I was in during the Cold War, and I say that the reason we didn't really go to war was because we were so good, nobody wanted to mess with us. But we did play chicken with the Russians all the time, and our ship itself played chicken with one Russian warship one time. They were at general quarters, we were at general quarters. We had our missiles pointed at them, and they had missiles pointed at us, and they weren't that far away. And I was up on the bridge with the captain. That was my job up there, and talking about a very tense situation. Just one of them decides they want to push the button, it would have been over for everybody.
Yep.
And so,
think we've got all the, what do we got, the Sixth Fleet over in the Mediterranean Sea, or this whole thing with Iran?
Yeah.
That thing's going to get out of control.
Yeah. I think, Russia and the United States, they play chicken, but they really don't want to get into an armed conflict.
There's not going to be a winner here.
Yeah, no.
You might as well get hit by an asteroid.
Yeah, amazing. True story. Anyway, on that, we've got about a couple of minutes left, but when we go to the final break here, we'll talk shortly on some issues that should be addressed, and there's a lot of them going on. But in honor of Memorial Day, a lot of great warriors have passed away, and a lot of people don't know who they are. If you can, Richard, name a few of the
Sure.
big warriors that gave the ultimate price, maybe some Congressional Medal of winner awards.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, there's the one thing that sticks to me. I met one of them who was killed was here during the 13 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The thing in Benghazi.
Sure.
You had Glenn Doherty,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had oh gosh, I got this guy's name on my rifle. It escapes me. But there was two guys that were killed, and both of them were civilians, but they were working for. Well, you don't know if they're working for the CIA or if they're working, but if you ever get a chance, if you've never seen the movie, you need to see it. It's called 13 Hours.
Yeah.
And that gives you the whole lowdown. They don't lean on Hillary too hard, but she needs to be, that woman needs to be in jail. I have no doubt about that. She needs to be in jail because she's responsible for the death of all the guys that got killed over there.
Okay. Richard, you're listening to the John Estrada Show on Talk Radio 1680 KGD. Thank you so much. We'll be back.
Yeah, I got one on the list of Medal of Honor recipients. Yeah, Michael Murphy up. I just saw his picture. Okay.
Facebook, you can go ahead and send some comments in on what you think about the show Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a great time to honor those that have given the ultimate price for America. And there's a lot of great warriors out there that have gone things right.
How's it going, John?
Just a few more minutes, 7 more minutes.
You're counting down?
Yeah, right there.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Now, back to the John Estrada Show.
Thank you. This is the John Estrada Show, and we have a guest, Richard Cabral, and we're going over stuff that is very, very important for Americans to know. Richard, what other warriors can you think of that have given the ultimate price for our freedom and for America?
There's always been a little thing that I found annoying about holidays, especially this one, is when you run into people as your shop, and I know not everybody has the exposure that I do, but I don't know. Sometimes you see them at the market, and everybody's having barbecues and buying beer and watching football, and I'm thinking to myself, I have a tough time with it. Is what it comes down to. I have a tough time because this is not what this holiday is about. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just trying to say that somewhere in there, mixed into this mess, there should be a candle lit and a flag flown, something to honor those who gave them this opportunity to do this.
Yeah,
and I know my wife's big on this. You know, we're and no matter where we go, if she sees one with a hat on that served, she's over there thanking him.
that's cool. Yeah,
And there's just something that I just want to share with everybody that maybe on the air or listening, or just if you see a guy, it doesn't matter his age, color of his skin. If you see him wearing a hat, he's wearing it because he's proud he served, not because he's keeping the sun out. He's wearing it because he's keeping a tradition going to let you know that our freedoms in this country are because of them. So shake their hand and say thank you.
yeah, that's
And have
pretty.
a great weekend.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, on our broadcast every day, I come up with what they call a shame on you. Shame on you. Remember shame on you?
Yeah, I do.
And I identify one person in America that needs to have that award, shame on you. And today it is a congressman. His name's Chip Roy. A lot of people have never heard that name before, but he was the deciding vote to get people in disaster areas proper funding that they needed. One vote stopped the money from flowing to those that really, really needed it in a disaster situation. And he did it because he was a conservative, a really strong conservative. And, you know, I'm a conservative too. And I do definitely believe that we need to stop all this spending. You know, we got too much spending going on. The debt is well over $22 trillion. And when I first started watching this stuff, we were at $4 trillion, and it just keeps going up year after year. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what president's in office. We keep getting higher and higher and higher. But I think disaster funding is important, you know, and they had enough votes except for one person stopped it. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, John, I got to say, it was a real honor being on the show with you. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Congratulations. And I just want to say I want to thank all the veterans out there who served and who's made sacrifices, and to this day are still making sacrifices. Yeah, most of them, a lot of these guys are carrying that war around in their head. And, you know, just to share some last-minute thoughts, it's not always the guy that fought in there. Even if they served, it was the guys that lost friends and watched them die.
Yeah, that's hard.
Suffer.
That's very, very hard.
I would say that a majority of PTSD comes from a lot of this. And
Depression,
you know,
post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff builds up, and you know, I have found, you know, most veterans, I'd say 99.99% of them feel like they don't need help. That so nothing's wrong with them, and unfortunately, those that are self-medicate themselves or don't get the attention that they need, counseling or whatever it might be, really put themselves in a bigger risk every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my big heroes, though, from World War II, besides my dad, was John Basilone. Mm-hmm. If you've never seen that series HBO made, I think Tom Hanks was involved in it, called The Pacific.
Yeah.
There was a band of brothers and then the Pacific. And you compare to the action and the suffering between the two wars. I mean, it was bad on the islands. Bad. It was just terrible.
Well, today they kill people thousands of miles away with drones and stuff, and in those days it was hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, that's right. Hand-to-hand. I don't think the average soldier or Marine. Yeah, well, they still teach hand to hand, but yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, the military is going through a lot of changes, and hopefully we get better. We get better at defending ourselves, and hopefully we don't have to fight wars. But if we do, we'll be ready for that, and less and less people have to pay the ultimate price. Hopefully,
as long as we have man on the planet, man is here. It's not the military that causes these issues. It's our government that causes these issues.
Yeah.
What they can't solve with a pen, we have to solve by force.
Yeah, unfortunately, everybody, a lot of countries out there are in competition with us, and somehow they figure that we're not going to defend ourselves, and we have to. We have to defend ourselves, even if people, military, die, during wars. So we have to. You have to. Everybody that joined knew that they could potentially or possibly be killed. You're
Yep.
giving up. You're giving up.
Well, when you sign your name on that piece of paper, it's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And most people need to understand what that oath means.
Certainly.
And maybe the next time we do a show, we'll talk about the oath that you take.
Definitely. Well,
to
Richard,
honor your God and country.
Richard, well, thank you very much for your participation in this show.
Thank you for having me on, and again, John, congratulations.
Yeah, I do appreciate your friendship and your honest opinion and your support for our veterans, and that's honoringamericanveterans.org. Contact them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. You're listening to the John Estrada Show on Talk Radio 1680 KGED. We'll talk to you. We'll come back on Monday at 4:05 p.m. Thank you.